well. They didn't follow through with bringing Jim Ross back. It was kind of just a wrestling angle to promote Michael Cole as a heel character and his match with Jerry the King Lawler, but I really wish they would have followed through with that because Jim Ross makes great TV. He makes a snail race sound entertaining. That's what he could do if ever given the chance to do it. But I think he produces television ratings. He ups the pay-per-view buy rates. He would up the subscribers to the network. He would make wrestling entertaining again, which is something that Michael Cole fails desperately at trying to do, even though Cole comes very prepared with a lot of notes. That's the thing that people put Michael Cole over for the most, how prepared he is when calling a wrestling show that's 3 hours, 2 hours, a pay-per-view, whatever the case may be, doing an interview. He's always sitting there with notes. He's reviewing his notes very religiously, and he's very dedicated to what he does. People like JBL and Jerry Lawler put Michael Cole over to me all the time in interviews and opportunities I get the chance to speak with them, and I can see why. But the thing I don't understand is they allow that Michael Cole comes very prepared, but the amount of times that Michael Cole screws up during a wrestling match calling it is unbelievable. There were a lot of times that I can account for that I could correct Michael Cole on a lot of his mistakes that he used to make during the calling of matches. He always found time to screw up his commentary and his analogy of a wrestling match. And how can you commentate a wrestling match and tweet on Twitter and post something on your Facebook status at the same time? Michael Cole is able to do that, but because he pays way too much attention to Facebook and Twitter and social media and the comments and fans on the internet and cyberspace, I think this is one of the biggest contributing factors as to why Michael Cole has screwed up commentary so many times over at least the last 3 years. And I go back to when Michael Cole turned into a heel character and he started criticizing the Hart family. I mean, give me a break. Did he really need to criticize the Harts as much as what he was doing? I know the Harts receive a tremendous amount of criticism. I've spoken to members of the Hart family over the years that I've covered professional wrestling. They don't really appreciate it. And I can't say that I blame them. You know, he started criticizing the Harts. He moved from that to criticizing more wrestlers. And eventually we witnessed the birth of heel Michael Cole after being the victim of rock bottoms and stone cold stunners and power bombs and pile drivers for years, and recently the F5. We witnessed the birth of Michael Cole's character as a heel, and that really did no justice for Michael Cole. Michael Cole's character and credibility had been absolutely thrown out the window. It had been disgraced enough, and he had really demonstrated what disgrace really meant to commentary after so many legendary commentators had the opportunity to call Monday Night Raw, to call Friday Night SmackDown, and now Thursday Night SmackDown, to call all these major pay-per-view main events. I mean, really, did Michael Cole have to go as far as what he did? I mean, the feud between Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler was entertaining when it first kicked off, then it got boring very quickly. And in my opinion, you know, when that feud got boring really quickly, that's when Michael Cole should have went back to being a fan favorite and being a face commentator, because you can't have the lead voice. I've said this more than enough. When doing, reviews of Michael Cole's credibility and his status in WWE. I've said this more than enough about Michael Cole over the years. You can't have your lead voice, allegedly your lead voice of a WWE program, being a heel character. It's okay if you have someone like Jerry the King Lawler or Jesse the Body Ventura or Bobby Eaton being a heel character, because you can get away with that. You can leave up the face commentary and analogy coming from someone like Gorilla Monsoon or Gordon Soley, but you can't do that with Michael Cole. Michael Cole, in my opinion, if he's the lead voice, if we got to go through the absence of Jim Ross, then Michael Cole should be a fan favorite, a face, and call the matches as he sees them. And he tried to do that as a heel character because I think some part of Michael Cole realized, being a heel character and being totally unprofessional as a commentator was not really called for, and he tried to do that. And I have a little bit of respect for Michael Cole for at least trying to do that, in keeping with his credibility that he came to WWE with for a number of years before turning him into a heel character was ever considered, which is why I am a huge fan and supporter of Michael Cole not turning heel because of what happened to him at the expense of Brock Lesnar losing the title at WrestleMania 31. Originally, what I had predicted was he was going to align himself with Seth Rollins as Seth Rollins' manager or come back as the general manager of Raw as a heel character. I'm happy that wasn't followed through with. Michael Cole was back quicker than what I had given him time to come back from and recover from. I give him credit for doing that, and even more so, I give him credit for not turning into a jackass towards Brock Lesnar and all the WWE fans. They should have stopped the pain before it got as worse as what it did when Michael Cole originally was a heel character. They didn't. They prolonged it. They aggravated everybody, and now Michael Cole is back to being a fan favorite. But what it took was Jerry Lawler to drop in Montreal with a heart attack. That's what it took for Michael Cole to be a fan favorite. I mean, give me a break. That shouldn't have came to that. Jerry Lawler shouldn't have been wrestling as much as what he did, and I'm happy Jerry Lawler was slowing it down, but what it had to come to was Jerry Lawler dropping in Montreal, one of the worst places ever to drop with a heart attack. He could have died in Montreal. I mean, let's face facts. That's what it took for Michael Cole to be a fan favorite. And I think at that point, Michael Cole should have considered stepping down and giving the headset back to Jim Ross. Here in 2015, with how lackluster creative has been, I think Jim Ross coming back will be one of the best things to happen in WWE. A number of people have said, when giving reviews on Jim Ross's commentary abilities, have said that Jim Ross would make a snail race sound entertaining. I believe that. I think that's the most accurate thing that's ever been said about Jim Ross's career. He's definitely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. And I understand, after you establish yourself as a Hall of Famer, after you have that Hall of Fame ring, and after you've done something 10 through 15 years, you should move on and do something else with your life. Jim Ross definitely is doing that. He's promoting different things outside of the wrestling business. He's got a new look. He's lost a ton of weight. He's never looked better. I respect that about Jim Ross, but I think there is room for Jim Ross in this new talent initiative. I think that he can still call a wrestling match just as good as he could 10 years ago. And I think there's really no reason why Jim Ross can't be calling a show like SmackDown. I mean, why can't you put Jim Ross on SmackDown like you did when they split up the brands a number of years ago and had the draft lottery? I think you can very easily get away with having Jim Ross on SmackDown. That would allow him to slow it down, and it wouldn't be a live show. It would be a tape show. So it would be, not so much work ethic have to go into that for Jim Ross as it would for Monday Night Raw. You could really slow him down as you did Jerry the King Lawler. You could have Jim Ross and King calling Thursday Night SmackDown, and you could have Michael Cole and JBL calling Monday Night Raw if you want to. You could change it up a little bit from what we've been used to seeing from Jim Ross having to call Monday Night Raw every week for 15 years. So that would be great. But I think only good things can come from WWE bringing Jim Ross back. That's my honest opinion, and I think something needs to be done. It beats hearing Byron Saxton every week on Monday Night Raw in absence of Michael Cole. Why can't Jim Ross replace Michael Cole? That's what I was hoping was going to happen before Raw went off the air the night after WrestleMania, after Cole had suffered the F5 and Lesnar had been suspended. That's how I thought they were going to follow it up with. Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler coming back, the legendary Raw announced team from the Attitude Era coming back to replace Michael Cole, Booker T, and JBL, who originally were put out on the headsets. That would have been a reprieve, and that would have been exciting. I hate how they only bring Jim Ross back now for a special match at WrestleMania or to call a match on Old School Raw like they did a couple of years ago. I hate how they do that with people like Jim Ross, people who should have status in WWE and be, put on display for that status they have. They should have the opportunity to showcase why they are in the position they are in, why they are in the Hall of Fame. They shouldn't just be kicked to the side, kicked to the proverbial curve, if you would, so Michael Cole can come in and steal everything they work so hard to earn. Michael Cole, in my opinion, yes, has done a lot in his career. I mean, he covered Bill Clinton's presidential campaign in 1993. I remember watching that as a young child. I remember hearing about Michael Cole over in Sarah Jehovah, watching the news reports that he was documenting before coming out of WWE. I gave him credit where credit is due. Michael Cole has done a lot over the last 20 years, especially with WWE. He has done a lot, but has he done as much as what Jim Ross has? The answer to that question is no, and that's where I don't give Michael Cole credit. That's where I draw the proverbial line for Michael Cole. That's where Michael Cole has to show me something. I know Michael Cole has credibility and he's earned status in WWE just as Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura and Jerry Lawler all had to do, just as Vince McMahon had to do when he started his career as an announcer on the independent level, when his father gave him the opportunity to be an announcer. Michael Cole showed up in WWE in 1997. His first WWE assignment was to call an edition of Shotgun Saturday Night. His first segment in WWE was a segment between Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels a couple of days before their match at the 97 King of the Ring, which ended in a draw, if you can remember. And ever since then, Michael Cole has been dedicated to WWE. He's been in promos with The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar. He's definitely made a name for himself in the business. But when it comes to making a name for yourself, someone like Jim Ross made a name for himself long before Michael Cole was ever considered to be an employee of WWE. Michael Cole was somewhere over in Sarah Jehovah covering what was happening in Bosnia, and we all know what happened over there. And he was covering Bill Clinton's presidential campaign by 1993. He was a news reporter. Nobody knew who Michael Cole was just from the scattered news report that will pop up in the United States. Nobody knew Michael Cole for being a sports announcer until he made that transition and came to WWE. WWE is what made Michael Cole, just as it did Jim Ross. But people knew Jim Ross from companies like WCW and the Territories before he got a job with WWE in 1993. His first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 9. For those of you keeping track at home, And Jim Ross has been with WWE on and off again for a number of years. He's been fired, he's been brought back, he's been fired, he's been brought back. I will not deny that maybe why WWE won't bring Jim Ross back full-time is because they have fear of Jim Ross walking out on them or having to fire Jim Ross, as they've done many times over the years. Jim Ross has been fired from virtually every wrestling promotion he's had the privilege of wearing a headset for. WCW, WWE, he's been fired from them all. The territories have had nothing to do with Jim Ross over the years. And maybe that's one of the biggest reasons why Jim Ross is not back full-time and why he's really slowed down things considerably. But the thing is, you better believe it that Jim Ross is backstage. He's got the headset on. He's telling Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler through that headset what to say when breaking down matches. He hasn't gone away. He hasn't gone very far. And there could be a chance we could see Jim Ross back by the end of 2015 or at the start of 2016 if things keep going lackluster the way that they have been. I mean, what creatively has arisen in WWE that's worth talking about or worth mentioning? Nothing has happened creatively. Seth Rollins is champion. The Authority are on the verge of breaking up. Sting is going to come back, reemerge at some point. Some point again, we'll see Brock Lesnar. Hopefully a follow-up will be done between Brock Lesnar and Michael Cole when Brock Lesnar returns. So there is a chance we could see something happen before the end of this year. And if something happens with Michael Cole and Brock Lesnar, who are you going to put out there on the headset? Byron Saxton has a long way to go. I mean, Byron Saxton was a part of, I think, NXT Season 2. And I mean, what was done with his character as a wrestler? He went from being a wrestler to a broadcast journalist. So he has a number of years to get under his belt in the way of experience before he's in the position of a Jim Ross or a Michael Cole. He has a long way to go. You're not going to put Byron Saxton out there as the lead voice of Monday Night Raw if something is done with Michael Cole and Brock Lesnar. There's no way you're going to get away with that, and wrestling fans are not going to go unnoticing